73%. That's how many people in a recent workplace study admitted they changed their behavior around one specific person. Not their boss, not their partner, not someone who threatened them, just someone. Someone who never raised their voice, never demanded respect, never asked for attention. And yet, every room they entered shifted. You felt this before. Someone walks in and something changes. The air gets heavier, conversations slow down, people sit a little straighter. You don't know why, you just feel it. That is not personality, that is power. So the question isn't whether aura is real. The question is, why do some people have it and most people don't? Machiavelli knew the answer 500 years ago, and almost nobody is talking about it today. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how aura is built. Not the surface version, not stand tall and make eye contact. The real version, the psychological architecture underneath it, the part nobody teaches. And at 7 minutes, I'm going to show you the darkest truth Machiavelli ever wrote about why people follow someone they can't read. It will make you uncomfortable, and it will change how you move through every room. But first, let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus was 28 years old, smart, decent-looking, hard-working. By every measure, he should have been someone people noticed, but he wasn't. He'd walk into meetings and people would keep talking. He'd share ideas and someone else would get the credit. He'd enter a room and nothing shifted. He was invisible. Not because he was weak, but because he was readable. Readable equals dismissible. He smiled too fast. He explained himself too much. He filled every silence like it was his job to fix it. And then, one night, Marcus stumbled onto a thread on Reddit. Someone had posted about a guy at their office, a man they simply called the Quiet One. No title, no loud personality, but every single person in that building moved differently around him. The post said this: "He never tries to impress anyone. He never explains himself. But when he speaks, everyone stops. And when he leaves a room, the room feels different, like something important just walked out." Marcus read that 3 times, then 4, then 5. He said in his post, "I realized I'd been doing everything wrong. I was performing. He was just being." And that word, performing, broke something open in Marcus. Because he'd spent years performing confidence, performing likability, performing the version of himself he thought people wanted, and it never worked. So, Marcus started studying Machiavelli, psychology, behavioral science. He went quiet for 30 days. He stopped explaining himself. He stopped filling silences. He stopped trying. And what happened next, he never expected. 30 days, same person, completely different results. Stay with me, because what Marcus discovered connects to something researchers have been studying for decades. And once you know it, you'll see it everywhere. Psychology decode number 1. Here's what nobody tells you. Aura isn't charisma. It isn't charm. It isn't confidence in the way most people define it. It is something far more specific. Psychologists call it perceived unpredictability, and it is one of the most powerful social forces ever studied. Dr. Adam Galinsky at Columbia Business School ran a series of studies on social power dynamics. His findings were disturbing in the best way. People with high unpredictability scores weren't just respected more, they were feared more, listened to more, remembered more. Not because they were smarter, not because they were louder, but because the human brain cannot stop paying attention to what it cannot predict. Write this down. Your brain is a prediction machine. That's literally its primary function. It scans every person in the room, builds a model of who they are, and then relaxes. Because predictable things feel safe, and safe things get ignored. But when the brain cannot build that model, when someone sits too still, speaks too slowly, reacts too little, The brain doesn't relax, it escalates. It says, this person needs more attention. This person might be important. This person could change the situation. That anxiety you feel around certain people, that's not weakness. That's your ancient brain treating them like a variable it hasn't solved yet. You cannot ignore what you cannot predict. And Machiavelli, writing in 1513, understood this instinctively. He wrote, "A prince must be a lion and a fox. The lion cannot protect himself from traps. The fox cannot defend himself from wolves. You must be both." Translation: never be fully readable, never be fully known. Let them see the lion sometimes and wonder when the fox will appear. That's the first pillar of aura, and Marcus, sitting alone in his apartment, had just found the first piece. But here's what he didn't know yet. Unpredictability alone isn't enough. There's a second element, a darker one, and we're getting to it. Pattern interrupt number 1. What Marcus did next made people uncomfortable, and they loved him for it. Stay with me, because what Marcus discovered in week 2 changed everything about how he showed up. The Reddit story, part 2. Marcus stopped explaining himself completely. Someone asked why he was quiet in a meeting. He didn't answer. He just looked at them, calmly, and nodded slightly. The person who asked spent the rest of the day wondering what that nod meant. Pause. His coworker Daniel, the loudest person in every room, started directing questions to Marcus, not because Marcus asked for it, but because Marcus's silence felt like judgment, and Daniel needed to know he wasn't being judged. Slow down. Marcus wrote in his Reddit update, "I didn't change what I said. I changed how available I made myself, and suddenly people wanted access to me. People I used to chase for approval were coming to me." Pause. But then something uncomfortable happened. A woman Marcus respected, someone senior, sharp, and intimidating, called him out in a team meeting. "You never share your opinion," she said. "Do you even have one?" The old Marcus would have crumbled, would have over-explained, would have performed confidence to cover the embarrassment. Instead, he looked at her, waited 4 full seconds, and said, "I share it when it matters." Pause, then looked back down to his notes. The room went completely silent. She didn't challenge him again, not because he was rude, but because he was unreadable, and she couldn't calculate her next move against someone she couldn't decode. Pause. That moment was the exact moment described by researchers at one of the most cited studies on social dominance ever conducted. And this is where it gets dark. Psychology decode number 2. Here's the brutal truth Machiavelli never softened. People don't follow the kindest person in the room. They don't follow the smartest. They follow the one who feels inevitable. And there are 3 psychological reasons why aura feels like gravity. Not excuses, not motivation poster wisdom, the real reasons. 3 reasons aura feels like gravity. Reason 1, the scarcity effect on attention. Dr. Robert Cialdini at Arizona State University proved that humans assign higher value to things they access less easily. This applies to objects, products, and people. When you are everywhere, you are worth nothing. When you are rare, you become worth everything. Every time you over-explain yourself, you flood the market with yourself, and flooded markets crash. The person with aura speaks once, and the room replays it for hours. Pause. Reason 2, stillness triggers threat assessment. Researchers at UCLA's Social Cognitive Neuroscience Lab found that stillness in social settings activates the brain's threat detection system in observers. Not because still people are threatening, but because the brain evolved to watch things that don't move the way everything else does. Predators are still before they strike. Authority figures don't fidget. People with nothing to prove don't perform. When you sit still, when you don't rush to fill silence, every brain in the room runs an unconscious calculation. Why isn't this person nervous? What do they know that I don't?
That question is the beginning of reverence. Reason 3. Emotional non-reactivity signals dominance. This is the darkest one. Dr. Dacher Keltner at UC Berkeley spent 20 years studying power dynamics. His conclusion: the person who reacts least holds the most power in any social exchange, not because they don't feel, but because their emotions are not available as a tool for others to use against them. When you react visibly, you hand someone a map to your pressure points, and anyone with that map can navigate you. When you don't react, they have no map, no leverage, no in.